Good evening, this is Broadcasting Scotland, News at 7. So at the minute we are on the phone with Douglas Chapman MP, who's down in Westminster, and he's going to help us make some sense about what happened in Westminster today. Let's have a listen in. So Douglas, are you having a continuous busy day today?
Well, it's been pretty much full on today in terms of waiting for the Prime Minister's statement this afternoon. I'm not sure if we're any further forward. It looks like she's quite prepared to kick the can down the road a little bit further. Certainly, the piece of good news, I suppose, for EU nationals from different countries across the 27 other countries is that there'll be no fee to be paid to actually stay in the country, which quite honestly shouldn't have been part of the proposal in the first place. But never mind, it is a bit of a U-turn on part of the government. So at least that's one good thing that's come out today. But certainly, I just can't see how she can overturn a majority that voted against her deal last week. I mean, it now needs 100 people, at least 100 MPs, to actually change their minds on the deal that's being proposed, and that's quite a big call for the government to make.
That's what we are seeing on the news as well. Can you tell us maybe a little bit something about how the mood in the room is? Can you read any specific frustrations?
Well, I think just general frustration. The Tory government had the SNP or the Scottish Government document, in 2017, January 2017, and absolutely refused to take anything from that, have discussions about it, make gestures or commitments to the First Minister of Scotland at that time. In fact, were quite, Scotland was actually just put conveniently from a Tory point of view on the back burner, and now she's come back and said, that she'll want to have discussions with Nicola, and that we will have a Scottish Government or Scottish Parliament will have an enhanced position with regard to the next stage of discussions. Quite honestly, it's just a lot of meaningful waffle or meaningless waffle rather. And I think people have come away today again quite angry at the fact that this is a government that just isn't listening to anyone, and for the Prime Minister just to say, it's still my deal or no Brexit, then she's not really changing our record, and that's a record that needs to be changed if progress has got to be made.
Absolutely. Considering that the Prime Minister was supposed to step in front of the House of Commons today to lay out a plan for the UK's next steps regarding the Brexit proceedings, it seems a lot of the day has gone on to talk about how to even begin to talk within the Scottish Government, the British Government, and how to begin to find some sort of consensus, which seems quite far from presenting a plan. And I think in that context, the whole announcement about EU citizen settlement scheme fees being dropped seems even more cynical than the whole thing having been included in the first place. It seems like, I don't know, I'd like to hear your opinion about it, but it just strikes me as severely cynical.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's how it was viewed in the House. I think that there were some wry smiles on the faces of the Tories on the benches opposite me, anyway, when she announced it, and whether they thought it was a cynical move as well, to try and get people to move, to get people onto her side, being supporting the Theresa May deal. I think that's the way that they saw it as well. So again, it's something that is not even resonating, I don't think, with her own side, and I think people are probably in terms of the Conservatives and the civil war that's actually going on, a real civil war that's going on in their party. You know, I don't think she did herself any favours today. And actually, to come back, I was speaking to one of our MPs just before I came to do this interview, and he was just totally scunnered, I suppose, by the fact that, you know, she's not brought anything back that's really new. That's a much more open way of thinking about some of the options that she does have. None of these options are going to be considered. These are the red lines that Theresa May's got. And I think it was Brendan O'Hara actually said in his question was about, you know, you've got 3 or 4 different things you can do here. You can look at people's vote. You can go back to the EU and explain the situation. You can, you know, we all know what they are. The different approaches that Theresa May can make. You know, taking the no deal threat off the table entirely, but she always links it in, unfortunately, with the if you want no deal, then you've got to vote for my deal, and of course that is, you know, just very back to a bull as far as a lot of the MPs are concerned.
Yeah, it's introducing a logical fallacy into the whole equation, considering that there is the option of not having no deal, and she presents it as if it isn't. From where we are sitting up here in Scotland, all eyes are on Westminster. When do you anticipate the next important steps being taken? When can we hear any significant? Do you have any feeling about that?
Well, certainly in the statement, it suggested that the First Minister of Scotland and the First Minister of Wales would be included in the next step. I'm expecting that to happen. I think in the statement it said that would happen this week. So we'll certainly see how, you know, if she's actually good on that promise. I can't see Nicola making a whole load of concessions if the government are determined to stick to their existing red lines. And you know, even if that were possible, you know, I don't think the government could meet some of the things that the Scottish government would want them to give way on. So, you know, I think we're very much just stuck in the same place we were before. Certainly, you want to hope that if the 2 First Ministers come to London during the week, then, you know, there will be a bit of movement, but I don't think anyone is seriously holding their breath, and we just need to wait and see, I think, to work out what the next step might be.
How does it feel as a Scottish Government representative down in Westminster to sit through these proceedings? How are you carrying on every day?
Well, we do. I mean, I'm not a Scottish Government representative, but nevertheless, I'm an SNP member of Parliament, and our group is you know, obviously, we work closely together, but we don't represent the government in that sense. But I just feel that, you know, people are being, you know, thinking about other things they can do within Parliament to actually, you know, maybe help their constituents or help their constituency. I think people's minds are turning to that. You know, if we're not going to get anything from any change from the government in Brexit, then, you know, there's people here who just want to get on with the job of being a good member of Parliament, and you know, I think I'm not saying that people are losing interest in Brexit, but when you get the same broken record time and time again, and no actual change, then, you know, you've got to think about your own mental health and how you deal with something that is so immovable. And so you know, certainly I'm spending my time doing lots of other things just now, in terms of, you know, trying to boost the Scottish economy and different things like that. But, you know, it is very difficult, and I think that the same level of disrespect that we've had since 2015, you know, just continues today. There's a few answers that the Prime Minister gave as well, which were a bit demeaning towards the Scottish government, and you just think, here's a chance to build bridges, to go halfway to try and meet somebody in the argument, and the insults and the derogatory comments just continue as before. So it's a lot to put up with, but we've got an important job to do here, and all 35 of us are absolutely determined to make sure that we represent Scotland every day of the week while we're here.
You're doing a wonderful job, and it's important, I think, for Scotland to hear how it feels, so I thank you for your honesty. I hope you'll have a good day today. The rest of the day, since you're still in Westminster, might still be spent with doing this.
Yeah.
But I hope
I think we all need a big cup of tea somewhere, and I think I'll maybe just go away and do that just now. But thanks very much for the opportunity.
Oh, no worries. I'm looking forward to speak to you again in the future, Douglas. Have a good night.
Yeah, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
So, following our conversation with Douglas Chapman, where we've also put together a couple of media feedback notes, especially surrounding the EU citizen settlement fee status being dropped. So we'd like to have a relook at those now. Here we have a comment from an EU citizen who this morning applied for the settled status scheme, and he says, I have been in the UK for over 6.5 years. The EU settlement scheme launched today requires 5 years of residence to obtain settled status, but the IT system doesn't recognise my residence in this country and asks for additional documentation. Good start, huh? This appears to be a fairly common experience currently being had. Tonight at midnight, the EU citizen settlement scheme opened its doors to the general public, which up until now had only been open to specific test groups. And there have been several voices understanding that there have been problems with the general public now applying through this phone app. We'll have a look at those kinds of issues now. This is from a Scottish organisation, EU Citizens for an Independent Scotland. The 3 million have done absolutely fantastic work in keeping up the pressure, and I absolutely would never want to belittle that effort. This is definitely a win for EU 27s in the UK. However, the cynic in me feels that May is not someone who gives up anything for free. This kind of reservation towards the progress that is being made or presented as progress obviously comes from the fact that there was never a need to include a fee, the £65 that we're talking about here, and that the Scottish Government had already offered to pay for its public sector workers. This is a fee that is completely discretionary to the Home Office and was something that was debated from the start. It continues to treat EU citizens in the entirety of the UK, including those in Scotland, as bargaining chips, and we can feel that sort of presence being made felt in a situation like today, where the only positive progress-like news is presented through the dropping of a fee that shouldn't have been raised in the first place. We've got another comment here. Nicola Sturgeon has commented that she is glad that the UK government has belatedly dropped its plan to charge EU citizens a fee for settled status applications. The Scottish government had already committed to covering the costs for those working in devolved public services. I still regret that they will have to apply to stay in their home. This is absolutely correct, and we understand and appreciate that Nicola Sturgeon is making a point here. EU citizens continue to be in absolute limbo, and because of this, it is important to understand the technical difficulties that are arising with this app. A little bit before the show, I spent some time going through the Android store and looking at the reviews being left on the EU citizen status app, and some of them are thoroughly positive, most of them are not. Many people are not able to apply. Your not able to apply at all from an iPhone. Your Android device has to be no older than 2 years old, and even with phones that seem to be working, or at least by standards should be working fine, many of those phones are seemingly showing issues in reading the chips embedded in the different passports, which is a key feature of this app. Regardless of whether users can use this app in the first place, this does not guarantee that their request to register will be granted. They still have to apply, and this application can still be turned down. So the dropping of a fee is the least of the issues surrounding this app, especially because the British government has, as a footer, before you even begin to finish your application, made clear that the information provided through the app, regardless of the success or not of your application, your entire data set provided through the app is available for the British government to use, but also to share with third parties from this or other countries, as well as private companies. So a dropping of the fee may well be a good positive step. But in many of the social media circles, we can see deep cynicism about how the government intends to recoup that kind of investment that they could have made, and it would have been several millions for all the millions of EU citizens in the UK. So, we hope that this has been an informative session for you, and we hope to see you again fairly soon. Thank you for joining us at Broadcasting Scotland. This was Scotland at 7.